Cold feet? Maybe so. Huh? Jump over. Have we started Damodar? What is Bhakti? Okay. Thanks. No, I think we've got what we need. And Janardhan's got everything mic'd up. Hare Krishna. Could we have a little more volume? I don't think we pay by the unit. Thank you all for coming. We know that there's so many things you could be doing on your Sunday. Can you hear me in the back? Can you hear me clearly? I think we need a pinch more volume. That way you'll feel intimidated. That's what you think. Let's hope. First, I want to offer a short prayer and reminder to myself. This seat, there we go. This seat is called a Vyasasana. Asana means seat. Maybe you've heard different yoga asanas. And it's called the Vyasasana. Anyone know why it's called the seat of Vyas? Anyone know who Vyasadeva is? If you get it wrong, you'll still get prasadam. Don't. She has a Bhagavatam. What is the answer? Vyasadeva is the original author of the Vedas. So, I was recently in Denver, and we were driving out to Boulder, University of Colorado, for a talk. And there was a young man in the car, young man, let's say, he was a student, so let's say he was about 20 years old. We're going to say something else, but I just wanted to warm up with this. And he kept saying, well, I think, and well, my opinion, and it seems to me, you know, he's a young kid. He's a college student. He's got his, as long as his parents are paying his tuition, he's got his so-called independence. And it went on for so long, and because I heard my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, the founder of the Harekrishna movement, say the same thing. After about the 15th time he said, I think, in my opinion, I said to him, frankly, your opinion, my opinion, don't mean a thing. And he was shocked that this is, well, where is your liberality? Where is your recognition of the importance of my selfhood? I have a right to my opinion. And it sounds good, doesn't it? Sounds reasonable. Why, well, you know, why the heavy hand of actual? And I included deliberately that my own opinion, well, who cares what I think? Actually, when I was sitting in our Detroit temple, and Srila Prabhupada was about to give the morning talk, and someone said, well, Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen, I'm the most foolish, I'm the most... Prabhupada said, actually, you're not the most anything, just sit down. Which was a shock. You know, well, what is this? But what is the first prescription for a successful cure of a disease. Yes, you need a good doctor, you need good medicine, okay, fine, fine, fine. But what is the core, the beginning of the whole thing to actually solve your issue? Who said that? What did you say? Yeah, you need a good diagnosis. So, really, and Prabhupada was thinking, he's not talking about American football, he's talking about international football or soccer. He says we're simply being pulled by the nose like a bull. Of course, we don't see these things in the urban atmosphere. You see the allegory, or the analogy, you see people being pulled by the nose all the time. Come by this new, improved, you know, they're being... But a big, big bull is very strong. I mean, anyone, they say third world, but I don't really want to use that term. What do we say? Developing world? Well, I don't know what's the politest way to say it. But the point is, if you live where there's actual life, people living on the ground, you know, raising their food and this and that, you'll see bulls. Anyone seen anyone ever try to control a big, big bull? It's not India, some of you, haven't it? It's a kid. Big, big bulls coming your way? No? You're all Delhi-wallas? Who's been out in the field? You been out in the field? Is it easy to move that bull? What is the old joke? Where does a 2-ton gorilla sit? And the answer is anywhere it wants. You know? But how is a bull controlled? Big, strong bull. Bull wants to come through that door. Bang, bang, bang. That door's just ripped right off the hinges. Comes right in, no problem. You're sitting where it wants to sit, just picks you up and moves you. No problem. But it's controlled by a small, I've seen little girls, little boys, India, Singapore, in Burma. How do they control it? Anyone know? Because this part of the nose is very sensitive, and you put a ring in the nose, they can pull it this way and that. So we think, our opinion, I think. Can anybody tell me what's happening on the other side of this wall right now? Can you tell me? How many people are over there? If there's a circus going on, someone is having a birthday party, there's 15 monkeys dancing a jig. Anybody tell me what's going on the other side of this wall? Huh? Raise your hand if you know what's going on. I have no idea what's going on the other side of the wall. And yet, I think we don't even know what's happening on the other side of the wall. I had a professor, I was speaking in a class, and the professor was saying, how did he say it? He was trying to prove that everything can be understood by our sense perception. You know, what is it? I'm from Missouri, I'm from the Swami state. If it can't be measured, if it can't be reduced to small units, subordinate to my intellect and sensual perception, it doesn't exist. Like a clock, those big grandfather clocks, everything can be broken down into the pieces, and you can see all the gears and wheels, whether they're nanos, you know, or what is it? What is the smallest particle they've got now? What is it? Nano. They've got now, because particle means it's a combination. I mean, they've got the smallest, whatever it may be. Is it a quark? I thought they just got something smaller than a quark. But hey, a quark will do. Oh, there goes one. You know, a quark will do. So, you know, it can all be broken down into parts, and it all works by laws of physics that I understand. That's what the general man on the street thinks. Everything can be broken down into small parts, and it's all operating E equals mc squared. It's all working by simple laws, basic laws, and and we know how it's going on. But the fact of the matter is, the smaller it gets, Prabhupada said, he told Sariputta, one of the founders of our Bhaktivedanta Institute, our scientific research institute, he told Sariputta that actually all people know are things of medium size and nearby. Medium size and nearby. Once it gets very, very small, it gets completely weird. The physics get completely bizarre. They don't really know, Is it a particle? Is it a wave? And where is it at any given point in time? They don't know what's going on. They admit it. And when they get way out there, you know, into the darkest corners of the universe or creation, they don't know what's going on. It's a dark... My favorite is, you can go home and Google it, spelled with an E. It's called Parkes Observatory in Australia. It's used by NASA when things go in the southern hemisphere. It's one of the preeminent, you can join us over here. It's one of the preeminent observatories, astronomical, what do you call it, you know, whatever it is, astrophysics resources in the universe, on the planet. I'm sorry, I'll be more specific, on the planet. It's called Parkes Observatory. And for decades, they were sending out in peer-reviewed Scientific America, so many different, you know, very reputable, Smithsonian, National Geographic, so many articles about what they were discovering. And at first they thought it was the death of a dwarf star. And then they thought, no, it was the actual echo of the original Big Bang. So many articles. Because they were picking up some, you know, something. You know what it turned out to be? I kid you not. Go home and Google it. Parkes Observatory, with an E at the end. There was a malfunction in the microwave oven in the staff cafeteria. And if you wanted to make popcorn or whatever it was, and you set it for 3 minutes, and you went ahead at 2.5 minutes and turned the thing off and opened the door, it sent out a burst of radiation that was being misread by these machines. And they had all these peer-reviewed articles that, you know, we found the secret of the universe. And it was the misfiring of their microwave oven. The point I'm trying to make is that really our view of the world in reality is based, it's like a teeter. Govinda Das compares it to a drop of water on a lotus leaf. It's just tottering. Or we could say the kids go down to the beach and make little sand castles, and they get so absorbed in their sand. I remember playing with my brother and my sister on the beach, and you know, I would be a king, and my brother would be another king, and we'd be fighting with each other's sand. And we wouldn't notice that the tide had changed, and all of a sudden the waves would come and wash the whole thing away. And all of our kingdom and all of our crown became nothing. So the waves of time shift, and all of our, we think this, I think that, but it's all based on just whimsy and no real substance. So back to our original point, this seat means that anyone sitting on this seat is expected to speak not his opinion or her opinion or I think, but they're supposed to repeat the words of Veda Vyas, actual transcendental knowledge. Now, why we have faith in the words of Veda Vyas and all that, we're going to get into in a second, hopefully. But it means something. I think, in my opinion, really it's all just bluff and hot air, and we should not be dissuaded by it. Okay, got that off my chest. I feel much better. So, and then what launched that was that I want to offer my respects to my spiritual master. A child, and everyone is so delicate in this age. The fact of the matter is that we are actually like children. If a child, and I'm including myself full on in this, if a child hears from the parents, he says, what is this? The father says it's a gas combustion car. Put the gas in, turn the key, sends a spark plug goes, you know, there's an explosion, gas burns, sends a little energy, wheel turns. Okay, fine, kid's got it. He doesn't have to speculate. Like the American Indians when they saw the iron horse, what is it, you know? He doesn't have to speculate. If he just hears, it's a radio, it's this, it's that. The child, and as long as the child repeats that, the child is accurate. So, accepting our position. Suppose I want to mail a letter. Okay? I'm in a foreign... I was recently in Istanbul. Beautiful city. Nice little temple. And I had to mail a letter. So, I don't know the city of Istanbul. Do I just go out on the street and see how I feel and take a deep breath and say the people seem to be walking this way, there must be something that way? And it's not really mailing the letter, but it's the journey to mail the letter. Well, that's not what the person waiting to receive the letter is saying. You're sending them money to pay their bills. They want that letter to get there fast. Call 2 weeks later, where's my letter? Well, I'm still looking for the post office, but I'm having a deep realizations of the universe. And okay, it's romantic, but the person's going to say, hey, can you, put a little juice in the thing and find out where the post office... If I want to find out where the post office, what do? I remember my father. You wonder where it comes from. I have my pride and arrogance, no doubt about it. My father would always take us on a summer trip, which was a lot of fun. Kids, we'd go every summer. We'd go some national park, or we'd go to see Washington, D.C., drive across the U.S. It was fun, 2-week vacation. But my father invariably, driving in a car, in those days we would go by car. So invariably my father would get lost. Even you took a left turn, you took a right turn, easy to do. There weren't so many big freeways in those days. But he would never ask advice. And I remember my mother, we were all hungry. We wanted to get to the city. We were supposed to get to the motel and check in and get dinner. And, we had all our plans, My father was just going around in a circle. My father's name was Bob. She said, Bob, we've gone past that building 5 times, she would, hey, come on, we're lost. And then, he wouldn't ask advice. And I remember my mother finally saying, Bob, we're surrounded by people who know exactly where they are. I bet if you pulled over and asked one of them, they could tell you right where you are. She just had enough, She was right, And yet my father sailed on. So what if there's people who actually know? What if there's actually great saints, sages, Veda Vyas, who actually knows? Why don't we just ask them? Hey. And they speak clearly, succinctly. And actually, Vedic knowledge is both descriptive and prescriptive. And what I mean by that is it describes exactly how everything's laid out. Even the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. You ever heard this saying? Nothing new under the sun. I remember someone saying to Prabhupada, oh, Bhagavad Gita is antiquated. It's people running around with chariots and shooting arrows and, take me back to the Byzantine Empire, Prabhupada said, lust, greed, anger, envy, that's changed. The mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, the mode of goodness, that's changed. Time, the material nature, karma, the living entity, the Supreme Lord, that's changed. What's changed? We may label it differently. We may shuffle the cards in the deck, but it's the same, they're the same cards. So, Vedic, that willingness to hear, and to hear from the right authority, and not be so proud of, in my opinion, I think, it's not going to get us anywhere if we're actually serious about our business. So, what I wanted to, believe it or not, that was a warm-up. Well, let's start this way. Let's take the lowest common denominator. Like what? If you take 32/64, can that be reduced to a simpler, clearer picture, you can reduce it to what? 16/18. Okay, it's a little clearer, simpler. What's better than 32/64? Have I got that right? Then, what did I say? Then 18/32. Or have I got? Okay, it's been a while. Okay, what's simpler, clearer, irreducible beyond that? 1/2. Very clear, very simple. It cannot be reduced any further. The beginning, well, I'll say it this way. Everybody wants to become happy. I work in the garden sometime. It's my therapy. And I highly recommend that everyone have a little garden. Grow some tomatoes, grow some flowers, bring them for Krishna. It's fantastic peace of mind and therapy. So there was a plant, and it was trying to get to the sun. Where's I saw Brajendra Kumar helped us trim this tree. Now the tree's getting sun, and the other side of the tree is blooming. You know, in its own way, it was trying to get sunlight. That was its source of happiness, sustenance, and life. So everyone, and the Vedas break it down. There's, what is it, Anamoya? Fill my belly. Satisfy my need for sustenance. And by that I mean, you know, food, energy. The plant's trying to get the sun. So Anamoya is considered the lowest. Fill my belly. And there was a politician. What does it, give me a 2-cent cigar? A chicken in every pot? What is it? I forget how it went. Yeah, 2 cars in every garage, a chicken in every pot, and a good 5-cent cigar. Guy won by a landslide. Because people vote, you know, generally speaking, unless someone's about to drop a bomb on their head, people generally speak, they vote economic issues. Fill my belly. Anamoya. What did Clinton say? It's the economy, stupid. Well, most people are just thinking, fill my belly, and the Vedas call that Anamoya. Then there's a whole series of progressions. Anamoya, then there's, what is it, Pranamoya, is that the next one? When develops a consciousness of I have different life symptoms, then there's Jnanamoya, that I have a sense of self, and I have my own thought process, mind, ego, like that. And it goes all the way up. There's Vijnanamoya, and ultimately it comes to Anandamoya, which we'll get into in a second. But there's all the, according to your level of consciousness, according to our level of consciousness, we're all looking for happiness. We'll all agree on that. I mean, there may be a few closet masochists here that I don't want to have an Oprah moment and out anybody here. But most people, now how you define it, how you experience, that's another thing. But the drive for happiness, that's universal. Now, a key point, oh, my little friend, bye-bye. We'll meet again soon, I promise. Sorry about that. He'll be happier. But he sees happy. As soon as he's going, oh, jeez, relief. There are irreducible factors. Like I was saying, reducing from 32/64, and the lowest common denominator is 1/2. There are what they call basic elements, forces in the universe. What is it? Electromagnetic, weak force, strong force, gravity. I forget what they are in physics, but they're considered the core, irreducible. In the Vedas, they're called tattvas, or truths. So there are core elements that are just, you cannot like what is it? Like water, you can reduce to, what is it? H2O. What is it? Hydrogen? 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. Is that? Huh? That's what I just said. We got an echo factor here. So anyway, that's what it can be reduced to. Elemental chart. Well, similarly, there are elements, irreducible factors. And even MIT, that shining light of mundane hubris, knowledge, there's a whole section there that are discussing in IT that maybe there is something, an element, it's a truth, an irreducible, eternal truth in the universe, an element in the universe called consciousness. Now, generally speaking, people washed in the mundane concept think that consciousness is a result of what? Brain function. I thought he was raising his hand. I thought, way to go, man. Consciousness. We're all conscious, right? I mean, I think so. I mean, you could all be figments of my imagination, but that's for French philosophers. You know, if I pinch you, you feel something. We all have our own internal world. I think, therefore I am. Each of us has our some of you are thinking, what's for the feast? When's this guy going to finish? You know, gee, did my phone just vibrate? I mean, you know, we've all got our little internal worlds. We are conscious. And we think that that consciousness, generally speaking, is presented, well, it's a result of brain function. Really, there's no ghost in the machine. It's just different synapses firing. And that's who we are. And one of the proofs is that, you know, if the brain damage, then I can go into a coma. I can go into a vegetative state. You know, you can stimulate a certain portion of the brain and people will hear the harmony of the universe. So it proves, they say, it proves that consciousness is simply a result of brain function. You guys agree with that? I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. I can give you a couple examples, but we're a little pressed for time. I have a computer. I'm communicating you with my computer. Maybe I'm even on Zoom or whatever it is, you know, video conferencing. You can see me. I can see you. We're all, you know, it's all going on. All of a sudden, you know, I was eating potato chips or I don't know, whatever it was, salt, zzz, screen goes blank. What the? Or you're in India and you lose. I mean, anything can happen, right? Some monkey jumped across the wire and, you know, the whole network blew out, you know, for North India. I actually saw this happen one time in Vrindavan. I saw a monkey walk into a generator. It was daytime. We were having a meeting. We heard the sound. Everything blacked out. Lights went off. Computers died. And the monkey came out. He was still smoking. He must have touched two wires. I don't know what happened, you know. But it blew out the whole thing in Vrindavan. So, does that mean when my computer blows out, I pass out? I'm working on my computer. My computer crashes. I can't communicate with you. You can't see me. I can't see you. I become almost comatose. It's like having a lobotomy. But I'm not the computer. I'm the person behind. That's the instrument I'm working through. I lose that medium. I lose that venue. But as an independent self, I'm not affected by that. You know? I'm independent. Consciousness, the brain is what the soul works through, what consciousness works through. But it's not consciousness in and of itself. I'll give you another example, Chinese room example. Ever have a little pocket calculator? What do they call them? And it's a translator. You could buy one now, $15, $10 at Radio Shack, if Radio Shack still exists. But whatever it is, you can get it online. Texas Instruments. You know, and you can punch in, you can be in Swaziland and Swahili or whatever the language is, type in, where's the nearest Harekrishna temple? And we do have a temple in Swaziland. Yeah, I don't know. We have a temple in Botswana. Beautiful temple. It's so nice that locals call it the wedding cake temple. Because it's a beautiful, nice temple, shikar, paid, and it looks like a wedding cake, the tears on a wedding cake. So they call it the wedding cake temple. But you can get a little pocket calculator and tell you in Bosnian or tell you in whatever it is, you know. I don't know where. Lapland. You can, you know, pipe whatever the local language is. It'll translate. Now, in that calculator, is there a little Laplander or Swahili guy or you know, Greek guy? Little guy in there scratching it out as fast and pumping it out? What's in that computer? That little pocket translator. What's inside? Some chips. And what are the chips doing? They're simply transferring electrical, not even really data. Zeros and ones. You're right, data, but zeros and ones. And there's not even really zeros and ones. What is it actually translating? Transmitting. Yeah, bits and bytes, which ultimately it all comes down to negative and positive, you know, little spurts of electricity. That's what's happening in there. Yeah. So that's what's happening. There's no little Swaziland guy or Laplander or, you know, whatever in there scratching it out on a tablet. Now, in principle, if I wanted to translate into Chinese or Swazi or whatever it is, in theory, if I got enough people, let's get a, what do they call it now? What is the stadium down here? What do they call it? Qualcomm, Petco, whatever it is, you know. Okay, so how many does it hold? 60,000? Something like that. It'll do. Fill it with 60,000. You know, in colleges, they hold up those little cards, you know, like the routing section, and everybody holds up card 1, and it makes a big picture. It spells out BSU, which there really is, Boise State University. BSU, or a picture of the mascot, or, you know, Go Chargers, or whatever it is. You ever seen that? Whatever it is, they pick up the card and it makes a picture, right? And they're just, you know, I hold up card 1, I hold up card 2. So a little more sophisticated, you could write code that at one goalpost, I ask, where's the Harekrishna temple? I'm in Beijing, and we have temples. Nanking, Beijing, we're all over China. Don't advertise. They don't go out to, in Red Square, in what is it, Tiananmen Square dressed like this, but we're there. You can get Bhagavad Gita in Mandarinese and Cantonese. Mandarin and Cantonese. Kijai. With official government approval. It's an amazing thing. What to speak of Hong Kong. We have if you ever go through Hong Kong, we have a beautiful temple. We have a restaurant. Sweet. So anyway, where was I going? Okay, so you want to know where's the nearest Harekrishna temple. And you ask in English, but you want to deliver it in Chinese. So just like you've got that little translator with its circuitry, sending pluses and minuses written in code, and it can translate. In principle, we're going to get back to consciousness and brain function. Don't worry, this is where we're going. I can ask a question in Chinese, and by a series of codes, if you hand me a 1, I hand you a 0. If you get a 0 from me, you hand a 1 to her. If you get a 1 from her, you know, we could write up a code. We could ask the question, just like holding up those cards, we could ask that question in English, and it could go all the way through the 60,000 people by our code, and at the other end of the field, at the other goalpost, you get the answer in Chinese. Why not? Same exact principle. You could do it. Now, here's my question. The difference between brain function and consciousness. Did anyone in that 60,000 people in the arena successfully translating from English to Chinese and from Chinese to English, did any of them learn Chinese? Did we get any fluent Chinese speakers as a result of that experience? Did we get somebody who learned even one word of Chinese? Did they even know they were translating Chinese? Just zeros, ones, just following the rules of the code. So the brain is functioning and it's accomplishing its tasks of sorting through perception, ideas, philosophy, ethos, culture, all kinds of complicated stuff. But really, it's just sorting through the brain. It's the sorting system. How do I know, if I'm sitting here, how do I know? Those are our drums? Not sure. What's going on over there? Huh? Oh, very good. They're having more fun. How do I know? Suppose this was a translucent, you could see through, transparent window, door, that glass. And if I asked you, hey, is the wind blowing? Now, you could go out there, you know, of course it's not clean to lick your finger, but you know, you could hold one of those little, what are those, I don't know what they call them, but you know, that spins and shows you, weather vane. You could go out there and hold the weather vane, see if it turns. I mean, there's different ways. But even without going out there, how could you tell me if the wind is blowing? Everybody knows. It's just too simple. Okay, what's the, you see, yeah, you see the leaves blowing. You see the symptom, which indicates the presence of the wind. You don't see the wind. Of course, with acid rain, maybe you can see the wind. But in China, where even Delhi had the worst population in the world some time ago. So, but assuming you can't see the air because of pollution, if it's clean air, you don't see the wind, you see its symptom. So the different perception, the sense of self is not brain function. Rather, that sense of self is the indication of the presence of the eternal self, of each one of us as an individual soul. That individual consciousness that we all experience, we're all individuals with our own realm of internal and external experience. That is a symptom of consciousness which is not brain function, but an independent, irreducible, that was the word I was looking for, an irreducible truth of existence. Just like whatever they're telling you, electromagnetism, weak force, heavy, you know, what strong force, gravity, whatever they're telling you in physics, there now a number of thoughtful people are thinking, hang on a minute, we can't reduce consciousness just to brain function, it is something else. So the individual self is looking for happiness, however you define it. The problem is, and I think I gave this example before, thank you if you're tolerating it, but if you have a car that's out of alignment, well, get it fixed if you have the money. But as a young householder, young married man, I did not have any money. I don't have any money now, but now I'm a sannyasi and it's fun. But in those days, I had people counting on me. So I had a car. I didn't have the money to fix it. I bought a used car. And evidently, if you don't ask, I don't think they have to tell you, but if you ask, they have to tell you. And so when I asked, they told me, well, the car had been completely totaled and written off in insurance, which, it was something cosmic, which does explain why the thing was for such a reduced price. The frame had been bent. Just, I don't know, it was hit by a train, I don't know what happened. But it was out of alignment. And if something's out of alignment, to get it to go in a straight direction, what do you have to do? Everybody's got a bum car. We've all, I don't know, you may be on a higher level than me, but I know I had a couple bum cars. And you just got to compensate for it, isn't it? You know, you want to go, it wants to go that way. You want to go that way. What do you have to do? Where do you steer? Where do you aim? Everybody knows. You aim now. You know, and you're going straight. I saw a bus in India. It was so bent. It was bent. It was one end was up higher than the other. The front was bent like this, and it was pointed down. I mean, it was so out of whack, you know. And it was just it literally was cruising down the road like this, going straight. I mean, I don't know how it was in Delhi. It was right in the middle of Delhi. It was, you know, what do they call it? The Delhi Transit Authority. It was, you know, it was but you know, an Indian bus, packed full of people on the roof. Hey, man, the guy knew where he was going, and he was like leaning out the window, pointing this way. And this other guy was banging on the side if they were coming close to something. I thought, How many things are wrong in this picture, you know? So you have to compensate. Now, what was I going to say? So we have to realize that we are being programmed, conditioned, dare I say, exploited. And I wanted to give a few of those factors that we have to compensate for. If we want to find happiness in this world, if we want to find a sane society, then we have to recognize the atmosphere that we're in, the countervailing forces that we have to compensate for. We have to recognize our conditioning. A fish doesn't know, I don't know, I've never talked to a fish. But they say that the fish doesn't know it's in water. Just like anybody here feel an oppressive atmosphere of oxygen right now? Are you feeling the weight? I mean, now that I mentioned it, you might think about it, but you know, but actually it has a weight. What is the Okay, but I was looking for the word pressure. What do they call it? Barometric. Who said that? Way to go. Barometric pressure. There's a pressure of the unit. The air adds up and it weighs something and it's pressuring us. Like, what is it when you go to the moon? Who knows whatever actually happens. But in principle, you go to the moon or zero gravity, and all of a sudden, you squeeze the toothpaste out of the... This has evidently happened. You squeeze the toothpaste out of a toothpaste tube, just keeps on going. And all of a sudden, you're floating around with this whole string of toothpaste and trying to avoid it, That makes fun in Apollo 13 or whatever's going on. So... we may not be conscious of it, but the atmosphere we're in is exerting a force upon us. In the same way, all of us, are conditioned by our culture. Just like a car out of alignment, we are laboring under certain conceptions. And I just wanted to mention a few of those, and because they cause us grief. Okay, I just want to give you three. And I know it's not politically correct. But is that an oxymoron? Politically correct? Like saying country music or military intelligence, or sannyasis say marital bliss? Is it apparently contradictory terms? Politically correct. It may not actually be correct. One of them is we are conditioned to think that modernity equals progress. Hey, I had if it's modern, if it's new, if it's improved, the progressive march of humankind. Previously, they were all, struggling around with bones in their nose, and now we're sophisticated. We're moving into the light. Well, hang on a minute. That's something we're conditioned to believe. But it's not necessary. I was in India many years ago. And there's another little friend. I wanted to purchase a loda. Now, anyone who's been to India knows, metal loda. You put hot milk in a loda, little hot milk at night. Tastes very nice, isn't it? I mean, you use a loda. What don't you use a loda for? It's a nice shape. It's kind of, what would you call it? Tear shape, and it's got a nice rim. So that if it's a hot beverage, it's cooled as it comes over that. You can hold it nicely. People use it for bathing, for watering in the garden. Isn't it? I mean, can you find me in India a home that doesn't have a loda? Huh? It's like... Gotta have ghee, gotta have a loda. Otherwise, what's the use, So I wanted to buy a loda. And the guy was trying to sell me a day-glow plastic loda. And the metal loda, stainless steel, not aluminum, stainless steel, plastic, that tastes funny. Isn't it? Everybody knows. It tastes, you put something hot in plastic, tastes funny, you know? And who knows, carcinogenic, and who knows what to speak of, you know. We'll all be dead and gone. America will be, you know, a blip in the historical record. But that plastic loader will still be with us. So I said to the guy, and the plastic loader was more expensive. This is 1973. So anyone who knows the cultural variance, you know, America was first world, India was third world, so they say. So the man told me, I said, you know, hang on a minute here. Why am I going to, and I was probably being cheated, why would I pay 40 rupees for a plastic loader when I can spend 25 rupees, I think it was 8 rupees to $1 at that time or whatever it was, and get, you know, why would I pay more for the plastic for an inferior product? Why wouldn't I pay less and get the better product? So I asked the guy, I said, you know, why do I want to pay more for a Day-Glow plastic loader? It was bright orange. When I can just get a metal loader, which lasts longer, doesn't crack, things taste nicely. And he said to me with the deepest, the shopkeeper, with the deepest reverence in his voice, but it's plastic, like America. I said, hey, listen, man. I said, I live in America. I've come from America. I'm up to my neck with plastic. I'll take the nice metal load if you don't mind. And save money. What's that? Best and cheapest, you know? So, I mean, that's a simple example. But we are convinced if it's old, then it's antiquated, it's been replaced, it's inferior. But what if it's talking about eternal truth? Like I said, nothing new under the sun. Lust, greed, anger, envy, ignorance, passion, time, the living in. There are factors that are eternal. So we are convinced that the past was dark and we're moving into a bright future. And this is progress. Well, and I want to move on to the other feature, but just to, my spiritual master, one man kept saying we're making progress. What is the quality of life? How are you measuring? You may have more stuff. When I was a kid, they didn't even have a, what do you see, a self-storage? There's so many self-storage things now. People that got so much stuff, they can't even keep it in their house. Their car's full of stuff, their house is full of stuff, their parents' house is full of stuff. They put some of their extra stuff in their garage. Now they can't park their car because they got how much stuff. What do? Get a self-storage unit, put all my stuff there. So, I mean, you know, hang on a minute. What's the quality of the life? So Prabhupada, this man kept saying progress. We're not, I mean, I have a pacemaker. We're not discounting, you know, there are practical benefits. Now, of course, if I hadn't eaten processed food and sat around, if I'd walked every day, you know, like they do in so-called third world, you know, you walk everywhere, isn't it? You walk to see your friends, you walk to the field, you walk to the shop. Lo and behold, you don't have diabetes. So, you know, where do you want to? Here's an example. Srila Prabhupada's example. He was on a morning walk, and Prabhupada was saying how in the villages, they would just use castor oil lamps. Castor oil lamp. You go and bathe, you take your lota with you to bathe, and on the way back, you bring some water from the river in your lota. Isn't it? And you toss it on your castor. You know, you got it growing in your little courtyard or outside your little, every decent house in the village in India has a little courtyard in front, isn't it? I mean, now in America, you live in a pigeonhole in a skyscraper building, and if they give you a balcony, you can put a chair out on the balcony. You consider an opulent, an ocean view. If you stand on the chair, stand on top of a box, look up over the, you know, you might see the sliver of the sun as it's going down, and they say sunset view, you know. So, but, you know, you have a little courtyard. You keep your cow there. You do some work out there. You have your flower garden. So that's quality of life. Anyway, the point I was going to make, when you come back with your loda after bathing, using your loda, you bring a little water back in your loda, and you toss it on the castor bush. And kids love projects. You want to engage kids, give them a project. They love a project. So the kids, you have them pick the castor oil. You have a simple press, the seed pods when they become brown. You have them crush the seed pod. It goes through a little cheesecloth, and you get castor oil. It's the simplest. It's a 3-step process. And you put it like kerosene. You put it in your lamp, and you got to. It doesn't cost a dime. Well, hang on a minute. In America, I just walk in and I flick the switch. And I got a 100-watt light bulb. So there. Sounds good, isn't it? You're prehistoric. You got your castor lamp, and how many watts do you get out of that thing? And you know, you got to trim the wick, and I just flicked my switch, man. I got 100 watts. What's behind that light bulb? Huh? SanDiego gouge and extort, SDG&E. Anybody here get a bill? Does the SDG says, hey, it's free, we like you. Take it for free. What you can miss, what's it we've experienced in the temple. You can miss for 30 days. I think 60 days, nobody has to admit it, but we've experienced. 60 days, you get a red notice. Is it they shut you off at 60 now? It used to be 30, you got a notice. Then at 60, you got a red notice. And then at, you know, whatever it is, 90 days, they're out there, you know, you're in the dark, you know. Go out there and pay them with rolled quarters. So, and there's a dam. And there's a man who comes, I don't want to embarrass him. He's a very nice guy. He does electrical work for the temple. He works on these big transformers, these big giant transformers with, I don't know what the wattage going. He wears like a diving suit. Because if he makes a mistake, I said, are you hurt? He said, hurt. He said, I'm vaporized. He's not just killed. He is literally vaporized. Dust. Maybe his shoes are left. I don't know. But the point is that what's behind it? The big bills behind it. So I owe, so off to work I go. And there's the big dam. And there's, I mean, these big fires out in the back country, weren't they caused by downed fire lines? Isn't it? Millions of dollars. Human life. Gone. So we don't see. It's like the tip of the iceberg. Well, I just flicked my switch. I got a light bulb. And you're back there. You're primitive with your castor lamp. Well, hang on a minute. Let's factor in the full picture. And, you know, I had a friend. I met him recently. An acquaintance, I should say, from my high school days. His name is Mark Gowdy. His father owns, his father's dead and gone. He owns it now. But Alhambra Motors, San Gabriel Motors, Gowdy Motors. He owns like 5 or 6 car dealerships. And I remember his father, he was a friend of mine, so we used to go to his house, you know, hang out and do some mischief as kids. And he had a huge house. Tiered down, ocean view, right down to the ocean. Had its own elevator. He was on his 3rd wife. Every time he got dumped the old one, he got a younger trophy wife. You know? Tons of money. And I was at his house, and there was the butler there. Your dinner is served, sir. And I saw they took off the, you know, the bone china, which is nasty on one hand. If you actually, what is it? Banana leaf, marble, or gold. That's how you take nice food stuff. You know, very tasty. You know. Anyway, so now they have plastic and bone china. So he took it off, and what was there was a barley water. What do they call it? Consommé? It's not even the substance, it's just the water. And then he had a biscuit, and he would soak the biscuit in it till the biscuit just became mush. And then he laughed because he had an ulcer. And he had heart condition and high blood. He was in such anxiety maintaining his 6 car dealerships that What was he was living on, you know, barley water that he had to lap up. And many years later, I was in Mayapur, West Bengal. And I think West Bengal has one of the lowest per capita incomes in the world. I think it was $48 a year at the time. And we had lunch. And the lunch were in the man's, you know, cow dung and mud floor and the bamboo, you know, out in the middle of his field. He's there with his first wife, his sons. He knows he's the father of all of them. Everything that we had, nice Govinda Bhog, not basmati, but Govinda Bhog, that nice, tasty Bengal rice, you know. 3 or 4 sabjis. We had some nice, what do you call it, you know, buttermilk, spicy buttermilk. Lassi, yeah, you know, spicy lassi, salty lassi. No, it wasn't sweet. It was nice. It's better for digestion. Sweets were there. There was some sandesh. There was jalebi. There was nice Bengali malpura. Everything had grown except some of the spices within 100 yards of the man's house. It had been picked a day or 2 earlier, at the most, if not that morning. So he was there, eating like a king, with his loving family, doing something he felt was meaningful. He was, you know, had his sense of his place in the universe. So you tell me who was rich, and you tell me who was poor. Mr. Gowdy lapping up his barley water gruel, completely in anxiety, or our simple Bengal. And I'm not talking about going back to the Stone Age. I'm not talking about that. But I'm saying this blind lust, and if it's modernity and it's progress, then I just blindly follow like a lemming off a cliff. It's one of the things we have to compensate for. There are more. I'm going to talk about one more and we'll be done. Let me just pick one more. We're going to get there. But no, we don't have much time. This Gloria, and we already talked about consciousness as is not brain function. The individuality. That I'm an individual. I mean, you are really, especially in America, you are walking on very delicate territory. I'm an individual, in my opinion, and satisfying me is really the goal of life. The American Constitution is completely based on rights. Demand your rights. There's so many groups, this right, that right, so many, you know, whatever it is. Demand your rights. When we drafted, and we're just finishing it, the Constitution for ISKCON, we thought, well, there's a section of our spiritual source books, Manu Samhita, Law Book of Mankind, Manu Samhita, we thought, well, let's look under rights in the Manu Samhita and get a sense of what was the Vedic view of what are rights. We thought, well, let's start there. Couldn't find a thing. Nothing about rights in the Manu Samhita. What? It's a law book of humankind. It's all about human interaction and how society and individuals all relate. They just blipped out that part. They missed it. What did we do instead? We did a search for what? Duties. What is my duty as a father? What is my duty as a mother? What is my duty as a leader? What is my duty as a teacher? What is my duty as a student? What is my duty as a child? Reams of information. You have a society, people can take away your rights, but you can always do your duty to the best of your ability. Prabhupada says how to greet a guest. Someone comes to your house, you give them a garland, you give them opulent food stuff, you give them cold water, you give them a comfortable place to sit, you fan them, you offer sweet words. And then Prabhupada, it's one of the purports of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Well, if you can't do that, okay, fine. Then offer a sitting place, some sweet words, and some nice food, some refreshment. If you can't do that, then offer them a little cold water and a sitting place. If you can't do that, then at least offer them a sitting place. And if you can't even offer them a sitting place, you can fold your hand and offer sweet words. And then Prabhupada says, if you can't offer that, you can fold your hands and cry, and anyone will appreciate that the man is or woman is so distressed they can't even offer a sitting place, and they got their own problems. I'm not going to bother them. So you can always do your duty according to your circumstances. And therefore, you have a sense of self, a sense of control of your place in the universe. And that's what our happiness is. Our happiness, in a Vedic tradition, on your birthday, do you sit around with a king for a day crown and everybody has to bow down? Is that an American birthday means, hey, buddy, today at least, I'm number one. Isn't it? Bring on the gifts. Bring on the praise, you know. Because today at least, I'm number one. What is a Vedic birthday? What do you do? We'll go to the temple, but that's good. But you give in charity. You give to others. So my point is, if you have, instead of this rank, rampant expression of I'm an individual and the universe is meant to center around me and satisfy me. And there's so many varied forms that takes. We don't have time to get into it. If one thinks, wait a minute, I'm part of a community. And I'm just one humble element. And I'm part of a community. And I have duties. And my happiness comes by fulfilling my duties. Then one becomes completely happy, free from so much anxiety. So my simple point is, and we do have to end here. I did want to say more, but that's all right. The vision of a Vaishnava, everybody wants to become happy. That happiness comes by perception, not by experience. Huh? If you don't get anything else, remember anything else I said, take it home with you. Happiness comes from perception, not from experience. You can stuff your senses with everything you can possibly imagine, and it will not make you happy, necessarily. Never, and it never lasts. Here today, gone tomorrow. But one's perception that I'm a servant of Krishna. We see people come. They bring a simple flower that they picked from their garden. You could buy them a lifetime supply of Floral Express. They would send them a garland every day to their house, and they're not going to be as happy. I've seen it. When they come and they offer a little garland that they made at home for Krishna, or they come and see, some flower that Radharani's holding a nice flower to give to Krishna, or they see it offered for arti. Little simple service gives such great satisfaction. So the point of all of this, instead of these concepts that we are completely knocked us out of alignment, modernity is progress, that the individual is the self, and satisfying me as the center of the universe, that's what's going to make me happy, that my consciousness is just brain function, that there's no real eternal soul, and that all of these concepts, if one has the Vedic view, Vedic means based on the Vedas, one actually is happy in any condition. Just imagine for a moment, I promise we'll end here. What if we were completely free from the fear of old age, completely free from the fear of death, completely free from the fear of the unknown? My guru said, you think you're sitting on the floor? I'm sitting in the hand of Krishna. What if we had that consciousness? That actually there's a supreme controller, Ishvara Parama Krishna, and everything's organized, arranged, and designed by him. That experience in life isn't meant to titillate my senses, but it's an educational process. As in the Latin root, to draw from darkness to light is the real meaning of education. And therefore, whatever's happening, sannyasis pray, bring on the sufferings of this world. Huh? Everybody else is trying to avoid it. Trying to push it off, you know. Death, no, I'm busy Thursday, no, busy Saturday. How about never? Does never work for you? No. So we are obliged. But sannyasis bring on the suffering. Why? Because that suffering brings detachment. Well, what's detachment? That detachment is the boat that carries me over this ocean of birth and death. Bring on the suffering, it's educational. Why? It breeds detachment from all the frivolous, futile things you're going to lose anyway. And what is the value of that detachment? It's the boat that carries me over the ocean of birth and death to the spiritual kingdom, the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. That's the Vedic vision. And that's available for all of us. And we can end there. We're way over time. Thank you for sitting so patiently. Hare Krishna. So what happens now?
Everyone? Now everyone would kindly rise and then set your mats to the side. We're going to have a kirtan, and then after that we'll be serving the Sunday feast. So thank you. Hare Krishna.
Govinda.